Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary.
You guys, it's our 13-year anniversary, and we are here with Love and War. There's a lot of perspectives out there, and we wanted to contribute, period.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, babe. I love you so much.
Love you too.
Before we get into our conversation, I want you to do a 13-year, how do you say, reflection. I'll go first.
Okay.
I feel like this 13-year, I feel really just grateful. A lot of gratitude. I feel like that's the word of this year. I'm so grateful for our love, for our marriage, for our friendship. I'm grateful that, you're like, I can consider you my best friend and my best lover. Hey now. And you're just sort of, what?
Your only lover.
I consider you just such an amazing father, the way you are engaged with our children. And for those of you who don't know, we have a son who is 10, who is on the spectrum for autism, and we have a daughter who is 8. And, just watching you lead and guide them and this family has just been an amazing journey. The way our daughter looks at you, love that for her. Love that for me. I'm grateful that you haven't been in these streets disrespecting me and humiliating me, because the world is crazy, and I'm just grateful for that. And then, of course, just in our lives, the trials we have with, oh my God, why am I getting teary-eyed? With my mom. For those of you who don't know, we take care of my mom, who has multiple sclerosis. And there's just a lot of trials with taking care of her and just everything you have done. Mm-hmm. This is annoying.
Sorry.
To help her and just all we've been through, I'm just really happy, and I love you.
Love you too. I think that was beautiful. You're beautiful. And I want to say that, this 13 years, I mean, this has been the greatest choice I've ever, made in my life. I have a lot of great brothers and sisters. I have great parents, but you don't get to choose them. And this is the most important decision that, you make in your life. Not just who you marry, but who you're going to have children with. Right. And you have been just such a great example for our daughter. You've been a great example for our son. You've really, we've went from the, strictly the traditional marriage way to, branding you and, and creating on the marketing, and you still have held down to a lot of the traditional ways and values. You've continued to be just a sweetheart and to have a good tone and a great attitude towards just everything. And me, I get them investors, I lose investors, I get investors, so we have our highs. But I think what really showed me a lot was when we had to hit our lows, when we had that $4 at the 99-cent store, like just salad, rice, one thing and another, and just how we maintain to be happy, and how you just maintain to believe in me, and to and to be able to stick and to constantly motivate and just to constantly just be a great example in every way. I really, this past 13 years has been an incredible, and I feel like in this world, marriage has been my safe space. I've have learned to just treat this like you're supposed to treat your body. Keep poison away from it. Keep a bunch of things that's not good for it away from it, and your body will treat you right. And by doing that to our marriage, by constantly just trying to keep bad energy, trying to not do things that hurt what we have, this has been the best investment. This has paid back way better than the stock market, way better than crypto. It's it makes sense. And I understand why, whether people believe in the biblical, the scriptures, or the Quran, I just understand why this is held in such high regard. Mm-hmm. Because I'm blessed to have a partner, in this life. Life was a war. It's been a war for me coming up, and you've had your wars. So to just be able to sign on with somebody and to go to war together for each other, this has been the greatest decision of my life. And I celebrate you. I celebrate us.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because I feel like a lot of the like trials and tribulations that we've had
Mm-hmm.
have been from outside forces,
Mm-hmm.
never really from within. So we would always like team up together and like fight whatever we're going through, which is like a blessing.
And that was one of our rules from the gate. Remember, excuse me, pretty much to try to treat outside like it's outside, and don't let the wars that's happening out there come on the inside. So,
Yeah.
you know, if I was working a job or something and I hate the boss, or I hate, you know, the people in traffic or whatever, to not come here and treat you like I want to treat them. Or if you're having a problem with the children or something, they're pissing you off, for you to not talk to me like I'm the children, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, to be respectful to them and respectful to everybody around, or whenever I have my own contracts, entrepreneur stuff, just, you know, the ups and downs. So I think we've been protective of the energy here.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean that in 13 years, because of that, we will be able to be aware when it was beyond, you know, our capabilities.
Right.
It's like, oh, we usually keep everything on the outside. So
Yeah.
since you're feeling like this right now, I won't take it personal, because that just lets me know the pressure is really building out there, you know, opposed to living in outside is inside, you know, all the time. And that transition into branding you, because I was always, you know, I was out, you know, always working and doing stuff and building, and then I could come back here and this was my safe space. Mm-hmm. So that adjustment of when we started branding you, and just having to, you know, remember we went through that time where I was like, I don't know if I have a safe space no more, you know, because we're both in the work. So to come back, I used to avoid that, you know, here, but it helped us build way better rules and clarity and just in structure. So I just, I really, really, love that we keep the war on the outside or whatever, even with the children.
Yeah.
We treat them like, you know, it's like, oh, we're not gonna let you turn us, you know what I mean? So, you know, this was my girl first, you know, so I got it, you know, so I like, you know, it's a priority, your priority.
Right. And I feel like it's funny that you said that we keep a lot of happiness even in the down times. Like a core memory for me was I don't know if you remember when you picked me up from the bus stop and it was pouring down rain on us.
Yeah.
And we were at a part where I guess the cement was way lower, so the water was literally up to our calves. And we were like stuck on this little island. It was like, dang, we really got to walk in this water. Like our feet, our shoe, everything is just going to be ruined. And me and you looked at each other and laughed and jumped in the puddle and walked. And
we were drenching.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where it was like, it was so
bad
that it was good.
Funny.
Yeah. Like we just was like, this is stupid. So I do it. That's a highlight in my life that I remember.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's bomb about us. Like I know they always say like, oh, the honeymoon phase is, I don't, what do they put a time limit on it, but I feel like we've been in a honeymoon phase for years.
Right.
And that's just bomb, you know?
Yeah,
I love that for us.
I do. And that was around a time that I remember, because we had, you know, I had boxes, everything coming in. I had investors, you know, my production company's hitting, everything's moving. And unfortunately, I didn't grow up with, you know, money management understanding and that same kind of stuff that plagues us all. So, you know, I'm good at bouncing back up, you know what I'm saying, before I had to go learn like how, you know, money really works. So I would get it, but then the investor goes and you're like,
what we about to do?
Right. All these subscriptions. I didn't even know how much our rent was back. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, oh, okay. The bills started to mean a lot. You know what I mean? So I just remember that. I remember how you took that. And I remember us being together. We just laughed like, we some bums out here. Like, you know, but it's weird how that was such a high moment.
Right.
You know, because it was just about the choice we make, you know, how we choose to feel.
I remember during that time, you know, that you're speaking of, and then I was working at the boutique, and I remember
shout out to London Soul.
Yes, I remember you took my bus route, and then you like was so upset that it brought you to tears because you were reading.
I was reading Man is Still in Velvet.
Shout out to Man is Still in Velvet.
Yes, that book
you guys,
saved me.
I think a lot of men should read that. We'll put it in like the thing below. Just click the link, but tell me about that moment.
That was big for me because I was so focused on climbing back up that I wasn't focused on what that was putting you through. And when we first got married, I had everything covered. You know, financially, everything was, you know, I had got everything I needed to go. And I told you that with your boutique, it was just like, you choose, you know what I'm saying? If you want to continue to work, you know, it's cute, but just know the pressure's not on you.
Right.
So the thing was, if you want to stay home, if you want to work, it's up to you. You can move how you want. But, you know, I got this. And then I take that hit with, you know, with investors of that time. And I'm such on the rebuild of like focusing on, you know, building back up. It's different when you're an entrepreneur and you got, you know, I'm talking like $1 million investment type of, you know what I'm saying? And then when you can hit a certain like bottom, the climb is like what you're trying to go for. But I wasn't aware of the pressure that was falling on you. And, I don't know what happened with the car. My car, you know, someone hit it. It's like an accident. Your car is down. You know, it was just like weird. So you're like on the bus. This ain't even like Uber ain't here like that, right? So you're on it, but you know, we're living. I'm not in the hood no more. So it's like, oh, we're cool. We're not tripping. But So, but what happened is I read the book Man is Still a Velvet, and old school book. You know, they're a Christian family, and you know, a lot of stuff is very traditional. But the man, when he broke down the steel, he talked about how, you know, you might be the lawyer, the attorney, but you got to be willing to go work in the grocery store again if you have to. You got to do whatever. So he was just talking about when your woman's working for somebody else and how that works. He just had a lot of stuff. And I don't know if people will call it toxic today. I don't know. But for me, I got on the bus, went to your job, walked your route. And tears was in my eyes because I saw how dark the route was. I saw how everything was going. And I realized I was working so hard to try to get the big money that I had you in such an, you know, a space that you wasn't complaining about, but a space that is not in my nature, you know, when it comes to us. So I just had decided I got rid of all the bills, moved in with someone, took a room. You had got pregnant at the time. And I just cut all the bills down. That was the first thing. Then I went from having a $2 million production company to working at Fry's. So I found the first job I could find, got in there. And the thing about it was the whole time I was doing it, I felt good.
Yeah, your psychology.
Because I'm still, you know me, I'm working the day job, but at night I'm working back on producing production because I'm on. But all I felt good about was you were just in a comfortable,
barefoot and pregnant,
right? You know, that you were solid and you could just sit down and kind of nest for a minute before I would go and, you know, find a new apartment to move to and just start that rebuild. But thank you, Man is Still in Velvet, because it was really good on helping me tap back into that steel and just getting back into that grind. When you have passed up doing, you know, them little jobs, like, you know, doing working at a food place or just anything like that, it's hard on your ego, you know. And when I was alone, I could rebuild. But with you, it was like, wow, that responsibility let me know as I rebuild, I have to still go get that day in job and be good about it, and then still maintain the velvet of having a good attitude of still. So that book, Man is Still in Velvet, I'll tell every man to get that. It's just the rawest, real deal.
And shout out to his wife, Helen.
Whose wife? My wife? Like that?
The Man is Still in Velvet. What's his name?
Oh man, I forgot his name.
Well, anyways, his wife Helen. We'll have it on below. His wife Helen, I think Andelin or something like that. She wrote the book Fascinating Womanhood, which is for married women, and it's very traditional. Like, this world is so like boss beat. But if you are like traditional, like I consider myself to be, but I'm both, so it's beautiful. But that's an amazing book for women in marriage. And then also she wrote Fascinating Girl, which changed my life, which is gonna bag you a man. You feel me? And I did that, and I bagged you.
And it's funny because a lot of times today, men, we like to say, well, you got to be feminine. It's not that. Then the women look at us and go, well, what's feminine? You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's our responsibility, you know what I mean, to tell you what feminine, you know, is, or that's what I like about these kind of books. But it is our responsibility to create an atmosphere and a habitat that naturally brings it out of you. And so so I love these books because they're the his and hers. And we was and then we did the Raising Your Children. They wrote a book together about raising the children, I believe. So they're the real deal, like just by the way that they came at that. Of course, you can adjust things based off of your life and how, you know.
And I mean, these are old books, like really old books. But it's like,
but they come from the era when people's marriages were 50 years.
So. And you know, there's a lot with that. But speaking of that, like in this day and age, do you believe that there's like kind of like an attack on marriage?
Oh, most definitely.
I have this thing I'll never forget when Summer Walker says this. I'm gonna read this and I want you to say what you have to say.
Okay.
But she said, "This is so annoying to me. all the women I know who are married getting cheated on, beat on, emotionally and verbally abused, getting outside babies had on them, or the workload in the household is not even, so the woman is overworked and exhausted. And worst of all, the men don't care to do no foreplay or creativeness with sex anymore. They sound miserable, all for a ring. Why do people think marriage is the be all end all? It's so annoying to have to see this every day. And then majority who waited for marriage have kids end up divorced anyway. Now you just wasted 10 to 15 years of your life to end up in the same position as the rest of us. Like, shut up about marriage.
Okay.
And like part of me is like, dang, this is not true. This is not like the standard. And the second part of me is like, did she lie? Did she lie?
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is that honestly, we have seen a lot of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up in a broken home, when it came to that. And some of the first pains in my life came from, seeing, the attacks on my mother. Mm-hmm. So I totally understand the heaviness that comes with this. There's a problem, though, that is made in the way that was presented, in the way it was ended. Mm-hmm. And you can't blame the institution of marriage for an individual person's ethics or morals. It's like, if we're dating long term, if I'm gonna be a cheater as a husband, I'll be a cheater as a boyfriend. You get what I'm saying? Right. If I'm abusive as a husband, I could be abusive as a boyfriend.
Right.
But the only difference is marriage at least gives you the ability, well, not one of the difference is to be able to ensure your love. I could waste 10 years of your life and then just leave out of nowhere, but at least with a physical contract and some physical understanding, then at least, it's like, oh, it's not just so easy to leave. You're not going to just waste my time. And then there's no type of, breakdown on how we split the assets or the royalties or whatever, how our institution is set up. Mm-hmm. But I think that people are blaming marriage for individuals who are doing stuff. Right. You can't, if you broke and you're not living up to the hustle of like hustling, don't blame hustling. Right. There's people out here who are putting in the work, putting in the time to get money. What marriage helps with is it helps with clarity. And the problem is it's the courtship. That before marriage, how you court, how you deal with a person.
A lot of people don't know about courtship, and we've courted, but can you explain that?
Yeah, so when it comes to courtship, I think the difference when you think of like dating and courtship sets your intention.
Right.
So it makes it clear on, at least we know what the game plan is here.
Right.
If I'm asking you to court, that means that in my life, I have the intention to marry someone.
Right.
It don't mean I'm going to marry you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that you're going to marry me, but at least at the gate, you know that you're dealing with someone who marriage is a priority.
Right.
And sometimes the problem with people is that when you come in, you start dealing with somebody and you want something, but you don't recognize what their intention is, from the gate. So courtship allows the conversation to start with, we know where the end game is and where the goal is and where we understand. And depending on what institutions you're doing your courtship under, there's different manuals that even have time limits. By this amount of time, you should, know this or know that.
Right.
You put them through trades and tricks. You don't want to marry someone that you never seen mad yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want to know, how are you when you're mad? How are you when I disappoint you?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So have I met the family? Then there's the flavor. I like how Nuri Muhammad always says, like, are you my flavor?
Right.
Because we can have all the right things on book, but do we vibe?
Yes.
Like, it's not a prerequisite that say you like someone with a sense of humor.
Right.
That's not a marriage thing that matters.
Right.
But it does if I'm a guy who likes to joke. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that's one of the things to see how we can vibe.
Right.
And then that's what I think I love about courtship. And so when it comes to marriage, the world is against it. Being a husband, every time you walk out, everything is like, leave your wife, hide and do this, do that and do this. The pressure right now, it's almost like we've created a culture, or we're participating in a culture that's created for us to actually be away from marriage.
I think that's funny because this culture that we're talking about is like really an illusion. And I just say that because even though there is like a lot of, toxic stuff, there's more marriages that are doing well and don't have all that weird. I mean, I bear witness to it in my life, my peers, men that I know, women that I know who have, beautiful marriages. And I just feel like what happens is the people who are wrong are louder
Right.
than
Right.
the people who are right,
'Cause-
and it just outweighs everything else.
Right. And when you think about it, it's because people, especially with guys, people who are really in their family doing what they're supposed to be doing, like holding it down, they're not usually online selling to everyone, look what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
there's families that are in, and we do card nights and all this, you know what I'm saying? So when we get
Yes,
together,
yes.
we know like the most quietest brothers, and sisters be the ones who really are invested into their family, invested into each other,
We have
invested
a
into their
great
children.
marriage circle.
Yeah, yeah. And that's important for a marriage.
Yes,
You know?
we know that it's not wise, especially like as a married man, to still be hanging out with your single friends.
Yeah.
Why?
For many reasons. First of all, the loose activity, the things that they're into, the stuff that they're into, it's just not good for our psychology. You want to be with like-minded individuals. There's
Right.
already everything is oversaturated with sex already.
Right.
So, in our nature as a man, it's like, well, just because you're married doesn't mean that you don't have a radar that's aware that a person's naked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you're around a person who's constantly reminding you to go hunt, to go, it's now, and we're not on the hunt in that regard no more.
Right.
You want to be with individuals who are about that build, someone who's going to be respectful, because the whole lifestyle of somebody who's even single and stuff, whatever, it's just a different energy, it's a different vibe, and it's not really good for a married man. You know what I mean?
And for a woman too. I know a lot of women can bear witness to your friends. Your single friends are like, let's go do this and do that. And you'll be like, oh, well, let me check with my husband. And they get pissed. Check with your husband. And it's like,
Right.
we're not even supposed to be like dealing with each other. Like, I need wives who understand, like, that's my circle. And it just makes more sense. And
sometimes even worse than hanging with the single man is hanging with the cheating man, who's openly cheating. You don't know
what is that? What do you mean by that?
Well, so this is a thing that I have that I just really, you always got to tell the brothers, tell the homie, like, there's a situation where your friend goes, hey, hits you up and hits me up or whatever and goes, hey, I'll tell, when she calls or whatever, just let her know I was here or I was there. Like, like you want me to participate in something. And then what that does is, first of all, I've been with y'all, so I have a rapport with her. I'm cool with both of y'all, and you're turning me into a liar. And then when everything hits the fan about what you were doing and how you were moving, she's mad at me. She gets back with you. She does with you, but everyone's mad at me and acting like I was a part of that. And so since if I'm not trying to live a life of a lie with my own situation, then why would I participate in yours? Why would I even train my psychology or train my mind to even move like that or even be like that?
Right.
So, there's a difference between that and a brother who is hitting you because he's struggling. You know what I'm saying? And I've been a counsel for a lot of brothers. So there's always that thing where it's like, okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, bro, when you feel like you want to do that, give me a call. Hit me up or whatever. And I'll go out. Let's just play some ball or something.
Yeah.
Man, we got to strengthen each other and we build with each other. And then you also held accountable for, I got a daughter. So how am I going to teach my son and my daughter to watch the crowd you're around? And then I'm not living up to that. I'm not, I'm letting my frequency average out with, individuals. Not to be judgmental.
Say that.
And so, because also, I want, if I'm weak, it to be something to my guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want, if I'm mess up or I'm making a mistake or there's something that's coming in, I don't want me to come to you and you're like, yo, we can go out together, G. I want you to look at me like, come on, man, that's Neelam, G. You know what I'm saying? So it's you want to have the kind of circle that reinforces you when you're weak. And if people are already out there, even though some of the single friends will do that.
Well, we got like solid brothers.
We got some good guys. Yeah. There's some.
That's not necessarily everybody has that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys are waiting. You mess up with Neelam. They looking.
We have a unique situation, but back to like what you were even saying in response to what that statement from Summer Walker, who I love so much, love her voice, love her everything. I do think it is interesting that we do kind of ignore, like for me, one of the major qualities that I'm looking for was, what is his moral standard like? What is he like morally? Like over money, over looks, over all of that. It's like, how do you move? Are you a good person? How do you treat people who can't do anything for you? And just like certain things, it's like we will literally ignore shiesty, non-integrity people. I said that weird, but we'll ignore like the characteristics of people because they fine or because they got money, and then we be surprised when they turn on us. And it's like, you knew he was weird. Like, you red flags everywhere, but it was a pretty red flag, so you didn't care.
It's funny what people think of as being like high value or being, someone
oh
of
my
importance.
God.
And, I've been around princesses, kings, what I'm saying, presidents, prime ministers.
value.
But then I found some of the most people with integrity, people I would trust the most would be like the crib homie. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I grew up in this community and this guy got way more integrity. He got way more loyalty, what I'm saying, than this individual who's supposed to be a Muslim, who was supposed to be a politician, who was supposed to be a, well, I guess politicians you wouldn't expect it anyways, or a preacher, what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so I found that you really got to go base by base on people's character, because there's some people who really hold a certain amount of loyalty and you watch those characteristics, and if you lying to me, you're talking to me about that person,
You gonna talk about me.
you're going to talk about me.
We gossiped so much together. I know my name is in your mouth. Period. You lying, even if you're including me.
Right.
You lie. So
Yeah.
I think we shouldn't ignore that and get mad later. But I wanted to bring out we have this game called the Anne Couples Edition long term, because it's been 13 years.
She always wants to play this.
Okay, before I say this, is it weird that, not to be pessimistic, but like, how we reached 13 years?
Right.
But like, like my parents, like they broke up at 17 years. And like there's other people who broke up at 20 years. And it's like every couple was happy once.
Right, right.
So it makes me feel like, I just pray that we ride this till the, wheels fall off. But, I do feel like we always put each other as a priority, and we're always, what it is about us too?
What's
we're
that?
always trying. And what I mean by trying is we're not comfortable. We never get comfortable. And I don't mean like I'm not comfortable with you, but we're, like I'm always like, how do I say it? Like,
in every relationship, in the beginning, there's something people have. And then a few years in, there's this one word they lack, and it's effort. And you were selling in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, you wanted to look good. You wanted to this. You wanted to ride. You wanted to be your best. Now I know you. You know me.
And you're like, I don't care.
Where's the effort?
And I feel like we never left the effort.
Right.
And I always still care. And I feel like you still care. So hopefully, inshallah.
And I'll say this too, what you're saying about how there's only people do 13 years, 20 years. I wake up, and when I do my gratitude, I'm very clear that everything is temporary.
Right.
Our relationship is. My life is. Right. I don't know when I go. I don't know when you go.
Right.
So even if someone did 15 years, if 10 years of that was A1, you ain't got to it was all bad the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone might have lost their mind or really fell, and so when they left, but it doesn't mean that 10 years wasn't real.
Right.
So I'm not going to, I would hope I don't, carve out my whole life and decide like, I've wasted 30 years of my life. You know what I'm saying? Your children might have still have a chance because they had that 20 years that you gave.
Right.
So for me, everything is temporary anyways. If I don't know when I'm going to die, I don't know when my marriage is going to end. I don't know when anything is going to happen. So I live for today, to appreciate today, and to make sure that I'm grateful for as long as I have anything that I have.
Right. Yeah. Period. So this game, the Anne Couples Edition, long term, we'll link it in the bio below. But we love to play this. It's like really deep, amazing. It's from Skin Deep. Shout out to Skin Deep. Amazing questions, and I want to do 3 of them really quick, and before we wrap up.
All right.
Okay. So this one says, "When were you most afraid for me?"
Most afraid for you. I can emphatically say I was most afraid for you when in childbirth, both times, because you went, 9.5 centimeters. You was doing your thug dizzle, and then them complications hit. Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're talking. We start heading to C-sections, and it's just such a war. You know what I mean? And it's such a personal battle, because I helped create this circumstance and situation, but it's really between you and God. Like that, I'm here, and me, I come in, give candy to all the doctors. I have a game plan that's set up. We've talked. We're very clear and aware. I'm the soldier in there. I got brothers in the lobby. You know what I mean? If anybody want to trip out, I'll be set up. So when it gets to that point where it's beyond my hands, where no matter how much I prepare, there's nothing that I can do.
Yeah.
That's when when that war hit, and just to to see, even to see a C-section.
Oof,
yeah, to see what, what they do.
I remember when I was like, it smells like fire. And you were like, and then you told me
Because
later.
you got the thing right here.
Yeah, he tells me later, like, yeah, so they literally had this, like, lighter thing that was burning through a layer of your skin. And I was like, oh, my God, so it was really fire?
They had an AK-47 just shooting through her. You know what I'm saying? The body is miraculous. How you heal, how you still look great. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, your C-section taught me a lot about life, too, here in the physical world. Just not to go too deep off, but
what?
I live by this. I remember when, after you went through the most extreme circumstance situation, I seen your body have to go through so much. And you was laying in the bed, and this is the time where all you should have is time to rest. You should be able to chill because you didn't have a C-section. When the nurse came in and she said, if you want to heal, you got to get up. You got to walk. You got to move. And that right there was like, what a world.
Yeah.
This is a war. And the fact that after all you've been through, you're still held responsible to have to breastfeed.
Yeah.
But when you're most tired, when you're most broken down, the way that you get up is you just have to get up.
Right.
And the more you get up and the more you get into motion, the more the healing comes. And that's how I approach depression. That's how I approach finances. I approach anything that if I feel anything coming at me, it's like, remember her when she was cut up? Like, get to war and get up and get moving.
Period. Loved it. I would answer that question. The question again, just to remind you, is when were you most afraid for me? And I would say...
So this is when you was most afraid for me?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say as women, naturally, we're kind of like afraid for you guys a lot of times. I think other women can bear witness to that. But one thing that comes to mind was when you were going after the pedophile. I was terrified because I knew you snapped. And I knew that you lost it, and I just felt like I lost you. I felt like for sure you were going to jail. I didn't think you were going to die or anything. I just knew I did think like you could possibly die from the cops coming. That was a weird time with the cops too. I'm like, they're going to come and kill him because he's belligerent. And that was very terrifying for me.
Wow, what a thing to bring up.
Thoughts?
You know, I've been working with children for a long time, from Koreatown to Africa to South Central, schools, orphanages. It's just, for some reason, no matter where I go, there's these adults who got this weird taste, this weird, you know what I mean? So to have what we were building out here and to find out that there was one, you know what I mean? Yeah, I wasn't thinking smart, by the way. Yeah. I think that's a part of our nature too, as men. It's just, I don't want to be the sacrificial lamb, but damn it,
That's
if somebody ain't
gonna,
yeah,
especially because like how our community gets down. It's like, oh, it's a wrap for him, but it was like you were the one who took the lead, and just so that really scared me because I'm like, wait, we can handle this. Like, you know, we don't play about this in our community, the men, so. That was just very terrifying.
Well, to the FBI that's listening, in that case, I got the wrong address. So
that was a law.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad you got the wrong address. That was literally a law. All right, next question. What do I do that makes you feel safe in our relationship? I'll go first.
Okay.
You're militant, humble, courteous, honest, and dependable. UNFOI, and you're there. You're engaged. You're reachable. You're not shady. That just makes me feel safe in this relationship. You communicate. You have hard conversations. You're super honest, and I love that. It makes me feel really safe. And a lot of us women, like, we know y'all. Like, we study you. So we know when something's off by a hair. And, like, with my observation, like, when there's something wrong or this and the other, it's like, everything is just very transparent and clear for me. The fact that I'll never forget, I had accidentally took your phone, and my girl's like, oh my God, you got his phone. Oh my God, go through it. I'm like, what? Like, first of all, we have the same passcode on our phone because we want to make it easy for us to remember. And I'm like,
She
He
doesn't
has
know I
my
got 3 other
phone.
phones.
I
No joke.
so it's just stuff like that where it's just like, what? We're, I don't know. That makes me feel safe. What about you?
I think what makes me feel safe about you is who you are as a person. There were certain ingredients in you without me that I looked at, that I saw. You know what I mean? That I just felt like, wow, me. If I'm not out smoking and drinking and doing stuff or whatever, it's because it's not the right thing or it's not productive. It's not what I should be doing.
Right.
But you genuinely don't really want to do it.
Right.
And that's good. Those kind of two people are good because it's like, okay, that's my goal to make sure I'm not doing that.
Right.
And you genuinely kind of don't want to do it. So that, I think you have strengths where I could be weak at, and that makes me just stronger, just in a way that you move, in the way you think from that standpoint. Another thing is we were both had to hold down as being the oldest in our families, and with the things that happened with our fathers, in regards to our mothers, we there was a lot, that we had to hold up, just in our families. You had that for yours, I had that for mine, and I didn't have someone besides I had my mother, but I was like her partner.
Yeah.
And you didn't have no one. You were, when I came in, you was like, I remember we were going to your house and it was like you were sending your sister off to school. Like you're really, so the reality that we got each other, that if there's ever a moment where that you're feeling baby sisterish, that you got someone who's used to giving that big brother energy and that can hold you down, and then vice versa, just having someone who knows the same, from your end, that I know that if I'm like feeling, I don't want to say vulnerable because I don't be feeling vulnerable, but for the most part, it's funny how they said this is how men want to be held, but they show us doing the small spoon. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's big to me too, because I did have a mother, and that was kind of my partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, just when it came, shout out to my mom. Love you, Mom.
Love you.
And so I just, not that you're my mother. We're not your mother. No, I'd be all today. So.
Oh. Right. You don't ever feel like a little like insecure or anything, because I be popping in these dudes be in my DMs saying I'm pretty. Like, how do you be feeling? Like, you feel really secure?
I wouldn't have probably signed you to my production company or came to market you or moved the way I moved if I wasn't secure. You know what I'm saying? And when you done been through war, when you done tried to pull and tried to grab and you done this and that and the other, you start to realize that you don't have anything. So I always want you to be who you are in your nature. And if your nature is that you got around top basketball who, and that's what you want, then bye. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that at the end of the day, I came in with Almighty God Allah, and I go out with Almighty God Allah. So I trust who I am. I trust the quality that I am. Period. And so when you're out moving, if there's people who want you or anything that they feel, I trust who I am, and I trust you're intelligent to know who I am. Right. And if you're not, then you're probably not a good fit for me.
Right.
With all due respect.
Period. All right. Last question. What is an experience you wish we never had?
C-sections. All right.
I'll go first.
All right, go.
An experience I wish we never had was just, taking care of my mom for over a decade now. I wish we never had that. I can't imagine where we would be without that burden. But I do know, like, trials and tribulations, like, are here to, make us who we need to be or whatever. There is a reason for this. It has to be. I have to hold on to that. But if I could do without that, I would. What about you?
I feel like for the most part we are where we need to be in this. You know what I'm saying? If what we're doing isn't to, if all the strength we have isn't to carry a mom or something like that, what is it for? Where will we be? You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy that me and you are. Well, let me say this, because I think that's not answering the question. That's me countering what you said. My bad. So
I wish we didn't have.
Experience I wish we never had. Man, I don't think like that. I know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this game pulls.
Because I could name a bunch of bad stuff, but it's just like, the worst things in my life are who I am, the things I carry. So,
anything come to mind? Anything that you're like, I wish we could do without that.
If I would have had a choice, dealing with this situation with your mother, which I was the one who, because everybody was talking homes and stuff, and that's not what I do, so. But that I can say I understand that one. And because of how much I've had to overwork to make sure I keep you up. Because of the effect of watching the decline and worse than anything, it's the manic depressant part.
Yeah.
That I can handle the war of the MS and our bodies falling apart, but it's the psychology, you know, and your frequencies balance out. So to live in a home where her natural mind just goes towards the worst, that's a hell of a war. You know what I mean? To just psychologically keep you up and to keep myself up, and you know what I'm saying, while she's in a constant, you know, fall, you know, in that regard. So I empathize with that saying of, if there was a choice, she would have been walking and we wouldn't have had to, you know, carry such a load. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I feel like we should wrap up here. We have some juicy stuff in store and some guests, and you know, it's been a long time coming, us doing this. We've talked about this forever. People have told us, if you guys would just have a camera during your conversations, and now we're doing it.
Right.
And I love that for us. And I feel like we have a perspective that is great to put in this world. So, you know, you guys stay tuned. And this is my husband, Marquis.
That's my wife, Neelam.
And this is Love and War.